is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about all the different Spider-Men and Spider-Women and Spider-People, sometimes Spider-Animals. You never know. We're going to talk about, talking back to your mama and how that's going to get you to an early grave. And I'll, of course, talk about, the heritage, the respect of being the Black Spider-Man and Latino Spider-Man, Latinx Spider-Man, whatever you want to call them. We're going to talk about all the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in till the first ones to die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. My name is Jonathan. We are back at it again for another week, another review, another movie. But first, I'm here with Alex and Jerome. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. I just keep saying, I look tired. I look so tired, man. I'm good. I've been doing Pride stuff, which has been fun. I went to Little Pride Fest during just earlier today, which was amazing. I got to see Selena drag impersonation, which it was the first time ever, and it was really exciting to see, and she sang beautifully. So that was a lot of fun. It's been a little weird at work. I can finally say, because everything's been out at work now, all our surgeons are leaving.
Is that why there's an ambulance going by? That's them leaving one last time?
It's just, they're just like, we're just going to take the bus and we're going to go all together. So that's been interesting dealing with at work. But, yeah, we'll survive. People do what people have to do.
Yes, you'll survive. The people that were signed up for surgery won't. They're doomed.
Oh, yeah, no, that's been, first of all, it's orthopedic. Something's life or death.
Right, I thought it was like a plastic surgery, right?
I left plastic surgery 4 months ago.
Okay.
See? Oh, did you forget something, Jonathan?
I don't know why this war has started of you trying to prove that you don't remember. You remember things more than Jonathan does.
That he doesn't. No, because he doesn't admit that he forgets stuff.
Okay, when is my birthday?
That's not fair. No, wait. It's May 13th?
You got lucky.
Oh! Thank you, Cheddar. At least you didn't have to tell me it was your birthday. Y'all remember that?
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. I thought we had moved on from that. See, this is what happens.
I have literally told you guys every single day almost how petty I am. How petty I am going to be. How the last thing in life I'm going to do is something petty. Why are you surprised? Right? Thank you. But anyway, on Sunday, I get to walk in the Pride Parade. So if you guys are by the time this comes out, it'll have passed. So be on the lookout on Instagram, though. I'll post some pictures, show you what's going on. I'm walking with Optum. Hi, Cheddar. And it's going to be exciting to see. Can I help you? Thank you. But I'm super excited to do that. Christian's going to walk with me. Unfortunately, Yasi has to work, so it'll just be me and her. But I did that a couple years ago with Seattle Children, so I'm super excited to do it now. That's my exciting news. What's going on with you guys? What's going on, Jonathan? That you can remember.
See, what...
No, it's just me being me.
It is literally my job as an actor to remember pages and pages of script. Look, I got this right here.
Are you telling us you have a new play or show?
No, this is a monologue for an audition. But anyway, let me try to remember what I did. So anyways, this morning I went to Boba with a friend. This week has been kind of like meh. It's been kind of like standard. Yeah, did a lot of work. Went to work 6 days this week, but 2 of those were half days, which was nice. And just saw Across the Spider-Verse like literally an hour and a half ago. Just came out of that an hour and a half ago. So it is very fresh on my mind.
What about you, Jerome?
No, I don't have much to say. I watched The Idol once again. Once again, I forgot the new episode was out until Thursday because the show's not that memorable. And this week's episode is no different. I mean, granted, I think now the show's finally starting to get into its premise a little bit more, which is weird to say because it's the 3rd episode out of 6. You wouldn't think halfway through we're just now getting to the interesting stuff. But, who knows? I still am not, like, really that invested. I'm only watching it just to be, like, when is the cool stuff going to happen? When is, like, the really, really strong writing going to come in? And it's not seeming like it's there yet. There are some fun character moments. And I think Abel Tesfaye, or The Weeknd, rather. I think what makes it weird is that it's showing his weaknesses as an actor, that he's not very, like before it seemed like there was more to the character, but now that we've gotten more time with him, like he's not really delivering the lines in a way that seems like they're not they seem flat. That's the best way to describe it. Like, in some of his lines seem a little more flat than they should for the character he's trying to portray. But who knows, maybe we might get something real different as we go forward.
Wasn't he in something else The Weeknd where I feel like I remember his acting ability actually being
the
decent,
most he's been in is SNL, as far as I know, as far as like acting wise, but I don't think he's done like a TV show, especially not one like this where it's like a drama. And then the only other movie I remember from is Uncut Gems, where he plays himself. So so I don't know, but I mean, it's not that he's doing a terrible job. It's just, you can tell he's like not you can tell he's not an actor. But he's trying his best. He really is trying his best.
Could it be more the right? Because it sounds like it's maybe not even The Weeknd. It's more the.
It could be the writing. That could be it. Or the direction.
I've looked up some stuff about the Idol. It doesn't sound like you're the only one who's having a disconnection from it.
It could be the direction. It could be the writing. Because Sam Levinson, he's very hit or miss right now. I don't know what happened. He did Euphoria season 1, and that was a great season of television. And then after that, maybe the fame got to him, where now he's just like, nah, everything I do is gold. But it's like not like, gold covering, like gold foil covering chocolate maybe, but not gold. Because I don't know, man. I'm not feeling the show. Just not feeling it. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there's a lot of people that are not feeling the Idol, which I feel bad for HBO, because I know that this is going to be like their new Sunday slot, because then the primetime slot, it's on Sundays.
Well, I heard it's still like the most talked about show.
It probably is.
That's doing something.
I mean, it's hard not to talk about it. Every episode, something shocking happens. That's for sure. But that's just it. That's all it has. Shock value. Sorry.
I'm just still considering dropping it, because every time I watch it, it says my device overheats.
It keeps burning up your Roku.
Yeah. So
I just keep finding other things to watch.
But also started The Bear season 2. Talk about a show that's been making me feel better. Just I'm enjoying The Bear season 2. I'm only in 3 episodes in so far, but the whole season's out, so you can watch the whole thing start to finish. But I'm just slowly working my way through it, because I'm like, I got the time. I'm not going to rush through this. I'm going to enjoy these episodes. And it's great. It feels like The Bear all over again. I like the characters still. I like where the plot's going. So more The Bear is fantastic. And started Secret Invasion. They're releasing it 1 episode at a time. So we'll see how that goes. Because so far with the Marvel shows, the 1 episode at a time format hasn't really been working for them. Depending on the show, mind you, because WandaVision, that was perfect. Because WandaVision was like a sitcom type setup.
It was a different
worked
style.
for that. Right. Yeah. It worked for that like once a week thing. I don't know if Secret Invasion, and ever since then, none of them have really worked for that. So I don't know if Secret Invasion will work for that either. But we'll see. You know, it could. I could always be wrong.
I think with Marvel shows, they're making it into like these movies that they just cut up into shows. And that's why sometimes it doesn't feel like it doesn't work always, because it just feels like, well, it doesn't feel like the episode actually ended. Now it's just I feel like it's intermission compared to like Wanda, where like it followed the like theme of like actual sitcom shows that had a conclusion at the end of the episodes. So you're like, okay, this was a straight show right here.
They write the shows to be binged for sure, but then they release them episodically. But if you're writing them to be binged, it feels like I should be able to just jump to the next episode. Instead, you're making me wait a week, and I'm losing interest. So I don't know. We'll see. But granted, what I can say about the first episode of Secret Invasion, it seems all right. I'm interested in where it goes from here. Definitely some like shocking moments. It's cool to see a show that gets to focus on Nick Fury a little bit, because he's always a supporting character. He's never the main character. Even in the Avengers, he's like a supporting character. He's never like like the main star. So for him to be the main star of this series, it's like cool. We maybe get to learn some stuff about Nick Fury. And also, it's like already the show has made me start asking some questions, because there's a character in this show that you find out some things about, and you're like, oh man, I want to know more about what's going on with that. I'm being very vague because I don't want to spoil what I'm talking about for anyone who wants to watch Secret Invasion. But yeah, I got questions, man. And that's what Secret Invasion should do. It should make you have questions of like, who can you trust? Who's been truthful and who's been lying this whole time, like that sort of thing. And so I'm liking that they're already going into those themes, because that's what the book dealt with. So it's cool to see that that's what the show's gonna start dealing with those. So I hope to see more of that as the show continues. So yeah, that's been my week. Just watching a lot of TV.
Sorry, viewing audience, you're gonna see me put ice packs to my head a little bit in face. Very warm. Because weather in Seattle has been, like, non-consistent. We've had, like, winter for the last week, and then all of a sudden, just today, this afternoon, it's summertime again.
Well, you know, it's gotta be, they were like, pride needs sun. You need sun for pride.
It's been similar in LA. It's like, we just started getting sun, like, these last few days. And that shouldn't be the case in LA. Why did I move here? Like, I could have stayed in Seattle. But
listen, you wouldn't have got to meet Danny Trejo if you stayed in Seattle. All right. That was a great moment.
That was. I'm so upset with you because of that. Not in like an angry way, just like I want to meet him. Yeah.
There you go. He was very nice, and I got to escort him to the line, and everybody was cheering. But you know who else is cheering for something? Us, for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Well, I want to say that was weak for you. That was weak for you. You could do better.
Spider-Man! Spider-Man!
Spider-Man!
It's good. Matter of fact, I have... Hold on. I spent... like, it was a very poor financial decision, but I don't care. I made it anyway. I finally got a PS5. And
nice.
And upon doing it, I knew immediately what I was going to buy. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Had to get it. Not just for the review, but also just because the game is awesome. I love Spider-Man PS4 where he plays Peter Parker. No, it's from GameStop. Bought it pre-owned.
I saw the red circle.
GameStop's still around. As long as they are selling pre-used games, like GameStop will survive forever. Look at Miles Morales. Look at him. Looking all handsome.
Wow, he looks completely different in this than he does in Across the Spider-Verse.
This is after Across the Universe. He's like grown now. He's had his moment of maturity.
Actually, no. In this, he's still a teenager. It's just that
then why are they kind of looking like that?
Well, it's just to make him look more serious. Really, in the game, he definitely is still a child, down to even the voice. Because you got Shameik Moore playing Miles Morales in this movie, but in the game, he sounds like this because I'm a kid in high school, like that's his voice the entire time, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm annoyed. I need Shamik Moore to come in here, and I feel bad because he's the same voice actor from Spider-Man PS4 that came out like a year prior, so it's not like it's new or anything because Miles is in that game too. It's before he gets the spider powers, and I feel bad because I was like, yeah, he was good in that game, but it's because he's a supporting character in that game. This game. He's the main character, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't like your voice. Your voice is annoying.
Miles, who's supposed to be like 15, 14?
Yeah, he's like 15. Well,
yeah,
he's 15 in that game. I think in this movie he's supposed to be like 16, maybe.
Yeah, because it's already been a couple years later.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. If you haven't played Spider-Man Miles Morales, which you don't need a PS5 to play, there is a PS4 version too. But it just looks really good on the PS5. It looks so beautiful. Pristine, clear. You can swing through the city doing stuff, and he's gonna I just wanted to play it before Spider-Man 2 comes out for the PS5 later this year, where you get to play as both Spider-Man, both Spider-Man, but you get to play as both Miles Morales and Peter Parker. It does get confusing that they're both called Spider-Man though.
They're all Spider-Man.
Well, it only gets confusing when they're in the same universe. When they're in separate universes, it's like, okay, Miles Morales is Spider-Man in that universe. Peter Parker is Spider-Man in this universe. When they're in the same universe together, it's like, hey, Spider-Man. Yes. No. That's Spider-Man.
It should be Spider-Man W and Spider-Man B/L.
Well,
and
it's
you know
just
what that stands for.
Yeah.
That's
well, it's just because even in the main comics right now, there's that confusion because literally you can pick up Spider-Man, or you could pick up Spider-Man. Both because they don't differentiate on the titles of Miles Morales Spider-Man. It's just Spider-Man. So I'm like, this is confusing.
You should put the Spider-Man and Spider-Man.
No,
The
Spider-Man.
Suicide Squad.
Well, to be fair, it's always
Seriously,
been called the
Penny
Suicide Squad. The movie was the first one to decide to just call it Suicide Squad. It's always been the Suicide Squad when you pick up the comic.
DC, man, just keeps making bad choices. Just
What do
one
you mean?
after
Suicide
another.
Squad comics fine.
No, DC, like the movie universe.
That's Warner Brothers. That like DC
Fine.
Comics makes comic books. Warner Brothers makes movies that are based off DC comic books.
Fine. Warner Brothers, man. They keep making bad decisions and I'm getting tired. Getting real tired of their shit. But Marvel seems to be on their game, or whoever owns Marvel, Disney. Because
Kind of. They've been slipping as of late.
I don't know. Going into our first thoughts, this one was a
This
really
is made
good
by
movie.
Sony.
Well-
Marvel just gets to put their name on it. It's Sony Animation made this movie. Gotta give them their props.
And yes, and in this Sony animation story, Miles Morales returns for the next chapter of the Oscar-winning Spider-Verse saga, an epic adventure that will transport Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood. Where's the log line? Why is it friendly neighborhood?
Here, I got you.
Spider-Man
I got you. Miles Morales catapults across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. When the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero. That is not what you read. You was talking about Oscar-winning Spider-Verse movie and all that other stuff.
It's about as long. I was just reading too much. I was like, where is the log line? But anyways.
Are you using IMDb or
This
Wikipedia?
No, IMDb. It was just in the storyline section of it rather than.
Oh, okay. No, you got to just go off of what's on
Um,
the front page. You got to use the front page. That's where the log lines always are.
But this stars Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Luna Lauren Velez, Jake Johnson, Oscar Isaac, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae, Daniel Kaluuya, and many more people.
A lot of people, actually. A lot more than I
Yes.
thought before I looked at this cast list.
Well, I mean,
In
did
fact,
you see like all the Spider-Mans? The whole thing, the one thing I thought throughout this entire movie was, one, I love the design and everything. But did you guys ever watch Kimmy Schmidt Unbreakable on Netflix?
Oh, the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. There was,
No.
I think it was in season 2, Titus, her roommate, very dramatic. He's very like over the top and unnecessary, but you love him. He's great. He tries out for a play called Too Many Spider-Mans, 50 Spider-Men on stage, which is basically what this movie was. He's like, look, there's another Spider-Man and another one. And then I'm going to take out all these Spider-Man and be the only Spider-Man. This is the vibe I kept getting from that movie at certain points. Where I'm like, there are too many Spider-Men. Spider-Men or Spider-Mans?
Too many cooks.
There's spider people and
Spider people.
spiders. Because there's also spider animals.
That's true.
Well, it wouldn't be just spiders because he's Spider-Pig.
Well, first of all, Spider-Pig is a spider. Spider-Pig's origin is that it's a spider that got bitten by a radioactive pig and got turned into
right.
Spider-Ham.
I forgot that. So spider beings?
Spiders, just spiders, okay? Don't hurt your brain. It's just there's too many spiders.
There's too many spiders. Yeah, that's what this movie. Every time another spider was introduced, I was like, there are too many spiders.
I had a great time. I loved it.
Jerome, well, lead us to it. What are your initial thoughts?
This movie's awesome.
Basically, for those who don't know,
this movie's fantastic.
We go into our initial thoughts, and then we'll do a spoiler section. We'll warn you when we go into spoilers, but right now...
Yeah, we will definitely warn you for this movie, because I know a lot of people are trying to avoid spoilers for this film, even still, by the time this comes out. So, we'll give you a fair warning. This movie's fantastic. This movie's great. I love it. I think it's... I don't think it's better than the first one, but that's hard to gauge, because this is the one spoiler thing I will give you, audience, because this is a first part of a 2-part story. So it's kind of hard to gauge.
I like how we said no spoilers and then immediately...
That's the only one I'll give them because originally a lot of people already kind of knew that, because originally this was supposed to be called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Part 1 was in the title. Then they changed it to Across the Spider-Verse because I guess they decided that the second one was going to be called Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is the title of the second one. So so they took the Part 1 label off. But it still is Part 1. This is a to be continued story.
Which I have to mention, what is up with the Spider-Man franchise and just changing one word of the movie title in the sequels, like Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home. What's the other one?
Homecoming.
Like,
they're just trying to keep it sequential. I don't know.
But then it confuses in my mind. Like, I get the Spider-Man's movies mixed up because it's like, oh, was this No Way Home or Far From Home?
I think Marvel did that because they wanted to differentiate between, because even Sony Spider-Man didn't do that. Like, there's Spider-Man, then Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Then then when they rebooted, and it's Sony doing it, they did Amazing Spider-Man, then Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know what I mean? Like, they changed the title. And I think Marvel wanted to differentiate, and they couldn't use Amazing Spider-Man. They couldn't use Spider-Man for, like, sequels and stuff, so they made their own, which was Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, yada, yada,
yeah,
yada.
But Marvel already does that whole second title thing.
No, not really.
Anyway.
Very
Thor
seldomly.
Ragnarok, Thor...
Yeah, but Thor is
Doctor
probably
Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
That's
Captain
true.
America,
actually, no.
Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Now I'm hearing it.
War.
I see what you mean. There is a lot of subtitles in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
All right, I stand corrected. But but it's like Spider-Man. They've been
Black
doing
Panther,
that for a
Wakanda
while.
Forever. Sorry.
It should have just been Black Panther 2, to be quite honest. But but anyway, there's so Spider-Man's been doing that for a while. But regardless, so that's my only reason saying, like, I think the first one's better, but that's only because it's a complete story. I feel like it stays in that pocket very well. This one is but this one's great too. I love all of the characters. I love the acting on everybody's part. Like, all the voice actors are great in this movie. I think the what was I gonna say? The animation is awesome in this. I think there's a lot of, great style changes in every single one of the Spider-Man, and it's very consistent. Like, at no point do they get lazy and they're like, look, we're out of ideas. I don't know. This universe just looks like somebody else's universe. Whatever. It's like, no, they keep changing it up every time we go to a new universe. They worked hard. Now, granted, I did hear yesterday a news story that apparently a lot of animators quit after working on this project because of the conditions were so bad trying to get this movie done.
The conditions? What does that mean?
As far as the crunch time to get it finished
Probably
in
overworked,
time.
no overtime.
Yeah, they were very overworked to make this happen. So, although I believe that both movies were made at the same time, so I don't think we're going to see like a lacking version of the next movie, but I feel bad that is the experience they had making this movie because it's beautiful. This movie looks incredible, and it looks really good. And so they should be proud of their work, but I feel bad that it took them being in such terrible conditions to make
the PTSD.
Yeah. But that being said, I love that. I love the music. Metro Boomin doing the soundtrack. Fantastic job doing the soundtrack for this movie. I love all of the music in this movie. There's no song as catchy as Sunflower, though, or What's Up Danger. But I still dig the soundtrack. I've been listening to it. I love the song Self Love with Coi Leray that's plays for Gwen Stacy in the beginning of this movie. Love that song. My only major criticism is the pacing is off in this movie. And it's because we spend a lot of time doing a lot of setup. Hell, Gwen Stacy's section in the beginning of this movie is very long. It takes a while to get through before we get to the main character of the movie. And so it takes there's a lot of other like smaller versions of that same problem throughout the film of just like the pacing feeling very all over the place at times. But that being said, I still enjoy majority of the film, even with those pacing issues. And I recommend this movie definitely for people, especially if you like the first one. If you like the first one, you'll like this one. Other thing too, some of the style changes while I love them, I can see how they could be a little hard. Like they swap so fast that it could maybe put someone in like a panic attack because there's so many style changes that happen so quickly. It's hard to keep up at times because there's just so much happening on the screen at one time. So that's another thing too. But anyway, those are my initial thoughts. We'll get into it more when we get into spoilers.
I'll take over from there. Speaking of which, like, I have that problem. When there's too many characters on screen and they give a lot of backstory for them, my brain goes into a little bit of a panic, like what we did with Valentine's Day, the movie, where when too many characters are introduced constantly throughout the film, it's a lot. And with my ADHD, it's hard to remember each of them. So most likely I am going to say the wrong character when I'm talking about something. I'm like, oh, I really like this. Completely wrong character I'm talking about. But that's how it is for my brain. I did really like the change in design, though. I thought the way they were able to switch so swiftly and smoothly was super impressive. And the comic book style of it was just the graphics in general was just really, really so well done. And like you said, with the animators, you can clearly tell they put a lot into this. So I can understand now, knowing why all of them would quit, seeing all this amazing work. And if they weren't treated right, paid properly or something like that, absolutely, they deserve more. Because this is going to definitely set a new standard. You know, there's a lot of movies where you're like, oh, the CGI in this movie was so good back in the day, and yet you see crap from today, and you're like, well, they did it back then. Or like with Jurassic Park, the animatronics were amazing, and then you see something nowadays, and you're like, well, this movie was doing this back then. This movie is definitely going to be one of those movies people are going to go back to refer to for the animation style. Well, Across the Universe was able to do it like this, but you can't? Like, what's going on? So I definitely think we are seeing a new standard being set. I really like the story. I loved how much more they express Miles's Latin side in this. It was very more present, and I really like that. I like when he was semi doing Spanglish. It was very entertaining because I swear I think I sound like that sometimes, but I don't even know anymore. It makes me want to reuse some of the Spanish because I feel like I'm forgetting it. This may be, motivating to be like, yeah, I should start using Spanglish again so I don't lose it. But I really appreciated how much more present it was in this film, which is really nice. And just the different cultural backgrounds with the different Spider-Men were also really cool to see. Because I've seen like sketches or like joke designs for like Captain Canada or Captain, Mexico, where they make jokes like that. Mm-hmm. But like, they were like, all right, this doesn't really fit though. But then when you see these, you're like, oh, this fits like the actual cultural background with the spider being that they're going to be. So I think this movie was really well done. Except for the constant introductions of characters, I enjoyed this a lot. But I understand why they were needed. So, what about you, Jonathan? What was your vibe with this movie?
I had a great time watching it. I didn't have a great theater experience watching it, because there was some little girl.
I was about to say, was it somebody bothering you?
Well, first, okay, so let's back it up here. I went to AMC 8 Burbank, and I don't normally go to that one. I usually go to there's 3 AMCs in like a 3-mile radius in Burbank.
Is AMC 8 the one where there's like the Batman statue close by or whatever?
No, that's AMC 16. That's the one we went to when we saw Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. The Suicide Squad, excuse me. And that's the biggest one. That has the most amount of theaters. It has all the cool, theaters and everything, and they're huge. They're all big theaters. The one I went to was inside the mall. It's just across the street. And I'd never gone to that one. And you walk down this long hallway. It's really it's kind of creepy because there was no one in the hallway when I was walking down there. But it's this long hallway, and you pass by all the other theaters. I walk in, and like the back couple rows are full, and my seat was in the back row. So I'm like, okay, am I in the wrong theater? Because that Elemental trailer, I walked in during the Elemental trailer, and it looks kind of long. So I'm like, did I walk in on Elemental? So I was about to walk out, check the theater door, and check my ticket to make sure I was in the right theater. I was indeed in the right theater, but someone was in my seat. It was this, I think it was this grandma and this the kid was no more than like 7 years old, 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. The kid was in my seat, and I turned to the grandma. I pointed my phone at her. I said, "Oh, I think I'm in D6 or whatever the seat was." And so she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." So I'm thinking that, they just chose whoever's seat. But no, they were supposed to be in the seats next to me. But the couple who was in the seats next to them, I think they either snuck in because they were like, "Oh, sorry, are these your seats? We're going to go to the front." People, if you sneak into the movie theater, go to a seat nobody's going to occupy, especially when it's full, because then it just messes it up for everybody. So that's my PSA.
Yeah, if you do it, you got to wait till the movie starts, then check the ticket thing to see what seats were available, and then take that seat.
Exactly. Exactly. Not when we're the previews. I got there pretty early. I got there maybe there was 15 minutes of previews left. That's early for me. But these people were already comfortable, had their popcorn, had their snacks in their seats. So just a PSA for that. Then let me get back to...
Wait, sorry, that is really stupid because you can check now and see what seats are available and not anymore. You can absolutely see that. So it's yeah, just check it before. Sneak into movies. We don't care. Just check the seating. It's very
exactly.
simple.
And then I felt bad for making the little boy and his grandma move from their seats. But they were in my seats and there was no other seat available. But they just had to move because the couple was in the wrong seats. Then let me get back to this little girl. So this little girl, first of all, she's sitting like on the opposite side of where I'm sitting. So thankfully not too close, but close enough within earshot. When the Nicole Kidman thing comes on, she's like saying the lines and everything, and it's cute. She's probably no more than like 8 years old, but she's saying, she says the line that Nicole Kidman says at the end, and then throughout the whole movie, she proceeds to keep talking. She's talking throughout the whole movie, and at full volume as well. She's falling off the recliners, like comfortably, like, oh, mom, I fell. But she did that intentionally. She was climbing on the chair and falling off intentionally, making noises. She was standing up. The projector is low, so you can like see people making shadow puppets if they choose to do so. She was trying to make shadow puppets. She had the popcorn on the ground. At first, I thought she was eating popcorn off the ground, but I think she had the bucket on the ground and was eating popcorn from the ground. And then I think at one point stepped in the popcorn bucket. Her and her mom left to go to the bathroom like at least 3 times. At the last time, I thought they were leaving indefinitely, but no, they came back. So it was...
I never understood that. Clearly, your kid doesn't want to be here, and you're not watching the movie. So, like, why are you doing... Like, nobody's around having fun. You're clearly not paying attention. Kids not paying attention. Just go get a read.
Because parents
theaters are usually
these days do not have the courtesy. Like most of them don't have the courtesy of people anymore. Where it's like, if it were me, I'd be like, well, that I'm just out $30 because that like which happens. And it's not like it's any. You know what I mean? It's like
you force your kids to.
Right, you have young kids. It happens like that sometimes. You spend money on a ticket, and then you find out when you get there, no, I don't want to go. It's like, all right, well, I guess we're not going. Now, I guess I wasted the money for you to go for this movie ticket because.
Exactly.
Kids change their mind. They're indecisive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It seemed like when the kid was watching the movie, she was interested in it, but. I don't know how much she comprehended because she was watching half the movie. The other half of the time she was doing something else. But just and PSA to parents, if your kid is not into the movie or if they're moving or talking too much, either tell them to sit there and be quiet or remove them from the situation. All right.
Well, that is the alternative. Could took him to the bathroom real quick, took the belt off. Psh, psh. All right, bring him back. I'm just saying that would have fixed the problem real quick. Because she don't want to go back there a second time.
Right. Because in order to be an upstanding citizen in society, you need to learn how to watch a movie sitting down, peacefully, quiet. But to the movie, I thought it was great. The animation, it seems like they changed it up a little bit, like the main animation that they used in the movie. It seems like they made it like pop a little bit more, a little more 3D, which I really liked that aspect of it. I loved the action sequences, and usually that's something that I'm not like super gung-ho about, but in this I really thought the action worked really well and worked in the context of the story. I will say it was when I saw that it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, I'm like, does it have to be though?
Yeah,
that's what I mean by the pacing issues. Like, this movie feels a bit long, and mainly because a lot of stuff gets drawn out. Where you're just like, I get the drama, but at the same time, we could move on.
Yeah. Because you don't really see that for animated movies. You don't really see animated movies go above like the 2-hour limit. And that's because of the audience that they cater to. But obviously this movie, you know, it has more of a wide, even though there was some rambunctious children in my theater, this movie definitely has more of a widespread appeal with young and old audiences. So I think that's kind of the justification. And I also didn't know that it was going to be a TBC, a to be continued. I don't know what's what's up with. I don't know. I'm still processing how I feel about not getting the complete story, but I think this did a better job at completing the story. And I don't know why I'm comparing it to this, but it's the last TBC movie we watched. But Fast X.
That was the first thought I had when I saw To Be Continued. I'm like, at least this movie earned its To Be Continued. I actually want to watch the next one. I want to know where we're going. You know what I mean?
Right. Because I was looking at my watch. I'm like, okay, this movie only has like 10 minutes left. Like, are we going? He seems like he's in a precarious. Oh, sorry, I'm spoiling, but it seems like we're in a precarious situation here. How are we gonna get out of it? But
and then the director was like, he ain't. Like, tune in next time.
So yeah, those are my non-spoiler-ish thoughts of the film. So, going into spoilers.
Yeah, so audience, I'm gonna extend this out a little bit. We are going into spoilers. We are going into full spoilers. You already got at least one to just know that it's a two-parter, but I feel like that's not as important as we're gonna get into story details, talk about character reveals, talk about motivations, Easter eggs, all that good stuff. So if you don't want to get spoiled by anything, you don't want to know nothing about this film as far as plot details, all that good stuff, leave now. Just know that he can't say we didn't warn you. Leave now, go watch the movie, then come back, get the rest of this podcast goodness, listen to the rest of this podcast. So that's your spoiler warning right now. In fact, we'll give you 10 extra seconds to leave. So you can, like, in case you're fumbling with your phone because you got too much oil on your phone, you don't have none of them oily sheets or whatever it is that Jonathan's got, and you're slipping and sliding everywhere. You get a little bit of extra time to pause this or turn it off, lock your screen. I don't know what you need to do, but whatever you need to do, do it. Throw your phone at somebody. I don't care. So you got time.
Getting a little aggressive there.
Okay. All right. Spoiler time. Jonathan, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, mine didn't have anything to do with the spoilers.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say that Shamik Moore's headshot on IMDb is very much given the bold and the beautiful. But, it's
better than Haley Steinfeld's. Haley Steinfeld looks like she's just like that. That looks like a picture from, like, I don't know, like Teen Vogue or something.
Right, and it's not
her head's so
right.
tilted. So yeah, her head's like this. It doesn't even look like her head's attached to her body. It looks like they photoshopped it on because her head's tilted just a little too far.
And I'm not gonna lie, Jake Johnson and Oscar Isaac's headshot, they look the damn same.
Yeah, they both at like a red carpet event.
Must be.
Oscar Isaac, that's Jake. Oh yeah. Oh, I was thinking Jason Schwartzman, but yeah, Jake Johnson and Oscar Isaac, they do. Issa Rae's headshot is great. But anyway,
yes. But yeah, if I'm being honest, like here's a place to start. What'd you guys think about Gwen in this movie? Because in the first one, we knew a little bit about Gwen, but we didn't really get to learn a lot. This movie, like Gwen, the movie's it's Miles' movie, but it basically is Miles and Gwen's movie because Gwen gets a lot of time in this to shine, to learn about her backstory, her whole thing with her dad. Like, she gets a lot of time in this movie. So what do you guys think about Gwen in this film?
I had figured that she would get a lot of shine because in the press junket, Haley Steinfeld was very much a part of, like, every single interview. It was her, Shamik Moore, and Issa Rae. I feel like those were the main three that were a part of a lot of the press, which I'm surprised that Issa Rae didn't have, like, more screen time in this. I'm not,
because Jessica Drew doesn't really have. Jessica Drew's not one of those, like, major standout characters as Spider-Woman, which also, she's not even a Spider-Woman technically, because Spider-Woman in the comics is not a spider character. She doesn't have webs. She doesn't do the thing Spider-Man does. She just is called Spider-Woman. So it's interesting that they changed her character in this to be a spider-related character. But I mean, I think that's maybe why, is because even her being pregnant, that's just a kid. That's honestly the most recent and most interesting thing that has happened to Spider-Woman in the comics as of late, is that Jessica Drew was pregnant. In fact, there's a cover, her most iconic cover, of recent times is of Jessica Drew doing like the like Rosie the Riveter like arm up pose with her bicep, and then from a profile, and then you can see her pregnant belly in profile. So that's like that was one of the covers for when they rebooted her series as Spider-Woman, and that was a big deal because a lot of people were like, "Oh, cool! Like it's a superhero, but she's pregnant. Like that's really interesting." Well, she's a secret agent at that time, but it doesn't matter. So that I'm glad they like kind of carried that over into the character for this movie, but I feel like that's probably all they were gonna do because they're like, we dug into Spider-Woman. She doesn't really have a lot. She doesn't have villains. She doesn't have like really important storylines. Like I think the only other important thing that's ever happened with Jessica Drew as far as like universally is in Secret Invasion, she turns out to be the first Skrull they find. That she's been replaced all this time, and she's been a Skrull for like years.
Out that in this one, Jessica mentions her husband once and never mentions him again, and they think that was her canon event that she lost her husband, which is why she ends up wanting to help them nearing the end after Gwen's dramatic line of "we're supposed to be the good guys."
It's possible because Jessica. Like, I don't know much about Jessica Drew. I know that, like, as far as her love life, the most I know, because I don't know who the father of her baby is. I know her and Hawkeye were married for a while. Like, they were together for a while. Because Jessica Drew in the comics is white. She's not black. So they race swapped her for this movie. And her and Hawkeye were together for a good chunk of time. But that's about it. So I don't know. But I can believe it.
I think with the canon thing, I think some of the spider people, because they had experienced that loss, part of it was like, okay, if we lost people, you got to lose people. And that's just how it works.
Do you know?
Look, your uncle got to die too. We ain't gonna take this L by ourselves. You gonna take this L with us.
You know what's funny? On friggin' TikTok, there's been a canon event filter, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on because I didn't see the movie till yesterday. So I was like, what is this canon event? What is everybody talking about? And then everybody's like, oh, it's a canon event. It had to happen. I was like, what is going on? I was so confused.
Like something traumatic that happens to everybody. Like
this movie has like affected TikTok because also the the Spider-Man 2099 theme, the like that synthesizer sound is all over TikTok of people like using it for like.
So yeah,
basically
it's been insane. I think it's so with their canon event. I mean, they've all lived such different lives, and death is the only thing is. What it's saying is connecting them. That one death that turned you into the proper Spider-Man. I'm just going to say Spider-Man. Spider or whatever. And it's an interesting thing that it seems to only be death. And I think that kind of goes with what you're saying where they're like, oh, I lost somebody, so you have to lose somebody. So go on and go on. But then he admits, I think it was Miguel, who admits that Miles wasn't even supposed to be a Spider-Man because the spider actually comes from a different universe. He was never meant to be a Spider-Man. So doesn't that mean his canon event is kind of voided?
Does it have to happen? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to play around with in the next movie is the idea of like, because that's a new thing. I think that's the coolest thing I like about these movies is they're doing their own thing. Because in the comics, Miles just gets it just so happens another spider bites Miles. That's it. And then later Peter Parker dies in the ultimate because Miles is from the Ultimate Universe before they put him in the regular universe proper. And so in that universe, like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, does his normal Spider-Man thing. Then Miles pops up, gets bitten by a spider, is also Spider-Man or has spider powers. Peter Parker dies. And Miles just takes over. So it's just a regular universe thing. So the thing of like multiverse wasn't a factor in those stories until it was. So this movie is doing its own thing where that spider comes from a different universe and bites Miles. And I think that's interesting and cool. and could lead to some interesting stuff. And I love the canon event thing, especially because that is true. Almost like half of the Spider-Man stories, at least especially the best Spider-Man stories, are the ones that are just filled with trauma. Like almost always, it's either, if it's not like, like you look at like the death of Gwen Stacy, big Spider-Man story. When Aunt May gets shot, and then we had the Back in Black story. That's a great story because we don't know if Aunt May's gonna live or not. Like Uncle Ben dying makes Spider-Man. Like all of the best Spider-Man stories are these really traumatic moments for Peter Parker, where it's like, Jesus Christ, can the man catch a break? He just wants to marry his supermodel wife and live a nice life as Spider-Man. Why does he have to go through so much all the time? But it's like, that's what it is. And so one could believe that's what it is to be Spider-Man, is to just have constant trauma all the time.
Like that one, like you have to lose that one person. I don't know. I also wonder, well, I'm like, he's going through some traumatic event right now. Literally everybody is out to kill him. So, like, couldn't this be a good canon event of trauma right there? He was betrayed technically by Gwen and Parker B. Or Peter B.
Peter Parker.
Peter B.
You just say
Parker.
Peter Parker. Technically, he is the normal Peter Parker. He's supposed to be the original.
I think that's adorable that they gave him a baby. Mayday.
I love Mayday Parker because she's also in the comics as Spider-Girl, and she's awesome.
And it says, like, oh, what if they had kids? Well, that explains it. Kid had powers.
Yeah, Mayday Parker is cute. She's adorable. She's a cute little baby. I love her little knit cap spider mask.
Mm-hmm.
I like when Miguel holds her and he's just like this with her. I love
I love that she crawls. She uses her sticky power. She just crawls all over people.
Mm-hmm.
To think about having a kid with that ability to climb up to the ceiling, that poor mom or that version of MJ is got to be like, Peter, get your daughter off the ceiling.
I wonder how. Well, I guess it's the comic world, so any rules apply. But you're able to have a child that's born with those powers, even though you were not.
Well, his DNA is forever changed because of the radioactive spider.
Sure.
So you pass
That's
on
at
that
least
changed
that's
DNA.
how I always go. Because the same thing with like Jonathan Kent, where I'm like Superman's son, where I was like, wait, but you have powers just because you're around the yellow sun. I guess technically he is part Kryptonian, so he should also have powers. And so it's like, you don't think about it too much. It's just he's the son of a person with powers, so he has powers. Same thing with Mayday Parker. She's the daughter of somebody with powers, so she has powers.
No, I get it if it's something that changes your DNA and like he's half alien. But I think it's weird when they make them equally as strong as their parents. It's like, no, you're half human. Like your power should be
like invincible.
Weaker, yeah. Yeah, like invincible. Like your power should either
No, they explain that in Invincible. They say Viltrumite cells are actually so pure it doesn't matter who they mesh with. It will their cells or the DNA will overwrite any parts of them that would be like half human. So if anything, Mark's like
sure.
99% Viltrumite, 1% human.
Does that mean technically doesn't that end up going into inbreeding if the DNA just constantly overrides the mixed DNA?
No, they just don't breed. They live for like ever, so they don't make babies. They don't need to.
Well,
they're like, we live forever. What's the point?
This Spider-Man did, and he had a cute one.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that he brought Mayday along, and that he was so comfortable like running into battle with her, because he's like running around chasing with all these different Spider-Men, and then here he is just carrying her like normal.
I mean, I guess in his mind he's like, I got her. I got this. I've been doing this for a long time. I got it covered. I've protected many babies, so I can protect my own baby that also has spider powers. So,
but sometimes it be your own.
Mm-hmm. That's literally the whole thing of the canon event. You can't protect your own always.
No spider people have lost their own children. So
No, but they've lost all of their family members.
Because in the comics, that's actually never happened. I don't think there's ever been a time. The closest we
Off screen.
off screen.
We didn't see every canon event. A lot of people were dead.
But yeah, sorry. I'm sorry it took us off track too, because I did ask about Gwen, and then we just went all over the place.
We were like the Spider-Verse, all over the place. Going back on track, which one was your spider?
What, favorite Spider-Man?
Yeah, which one was your favorite?
It's Hobie Brown. It's always Hobie Brown. Hobie Brown's like, but mostly is even when they were like, "Has he heard about Hobie?" I'm like, "Oh shit, Hobie's in this movie! Hell yeah!" Because I love I have Spider-Punk comics. I love Spider-Punk's design.
He was just like laid back, and cool.
I love when he takes off the mask and Miles is like, "How are you cooler underneath?" He's like, "I just am."
Which I didn't realize it was Daniel Kaluuya either. I didn't realize most of the people who played the Spider people in this movie were in this movie. When the credits started rolling, I was like, okay, yeah, I knew that person. I was like, no, I really expected this to be a more star-studded cast. And you get to the second half of the credits, it's like, oh, there we go. There are all the people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this. Especially, I really enjoyed Hobie Brown just because, like, it's a character you don't get to see a lot. Spider-Punk just got a comic this year. He's been around for years, but he's never had his own comic. He's always just been a supporting character. I think he was introduced in Spider-Verse, like the comic, the first Spider-Verse comic. And ever since then, people were like, "That design's awesome." He's got the denim jacket or denim vest jacket. He's got the kicks. He's got the Converse sneakers, the spike on his mask. He's so cool, and he's British. And so I was like, the second they even hinted at Hobie, I was like, "Yo, where's Hobie at?" And then when Hobie showed up, I'm like, "Hobie's the coolest. He's the coolest Spider-Man ever. He's the best."
Yeah, I really liked him. I liked that he had it. I liked his design so much because it showed like, oh, all these other they have uniformity in their uniforms a lot of the times when it comes to Spider-Man, but like his was very much individual. Like, I am my only version of Spider-Man. I was like, that's cool. I really like that. And you get to keep a piece of yourself as you're becoming this whole different persona, which was just really cool to me. I really like the different designs. I think that's why I liked when they started introducing Spider-Man like from different cultures. They showed their designs as well, and I was like, this is really well done and tastefully too. None of it ever seemed like you just picked the stereotype of clothing and you just put it on, you know?
Well, what helps is they're picking spider people that actually do exist. Like, because like Karan, I apologize if I mispronouncing it, Karan Sony, who plays Paviter, or I've
Pavitra?
always had trouble pronouncing his name.
Pavitra.
Because it's supposed to be Peter, so I think it's Paviter.
Pavito.
But it's but as Indian Spider-Man, that's another character that does exist. He was also in the Spider-Verse comic when it first came out, but they've never done anything with him. So this movie is like, we could do whatever we want with this character, really. So we'll change it up and give him like more backstory and all types of stuff. And they do a great job. And so they do a great job building on what already exists, but making it their own at the same time. And so the Indian Spider-Man ends up having a really unique design. I love the like cut where his hair comes out and flops over. But I love that also because he's so young, he's still very much a kid compared to everybody else. But also he has yoga movements and how he how he web slings, how he like uses his like yo-yo web things that he has. I'm like, this is a cool, unique character and a unique Spider-Man compared to the many other Spider-Men and women we've met so far. So he was probably my favorite iteration, even though might be my least favorite costume because of the hair. Like, nobody else has hair sticking out of their suit like that. So
that was probably my least favorite aspect.
I like it. I like the
but-
design. I dig it.
I think when it comes to
But-
superhero, you shouldn't have your hair out. I mean, I get
Right, it
this
feels
shit
like a
caught in my
hazard.
glasses. Just in a general sense, I get this stuff stuck in my glasses. I can't imagine whipping through the air or like it getting tangled in webs or something.
Then what about
Right.
Jessica Drew, who literally has her entire head showing, all the afro, everything,
That's different.
and has see-through glasses? You could basically see her face through the whole thing.
That's different because a lot of superheroes like fight with just their face showing. No one fights with their hair showing. All right, so
That doesn't answer my question. She has her hair showing. She has the whole thing.
no, just their hair showing. A lot of superheroes don't have masks. But he has
That
a
was
mask.
my
but he
issue
has
that
no
I
hair
think you should have your hair covered. Just because things can get caught.
right.
Um,
But I looked up a pronunciation thing, and it's pronounced paviter.
okay,
I put it-
Papita. Okay.
Puppy.
But yeah, and the like you mentioned it, Alex, the seeing a Spider-Man from different cultures, especially something that's not a Western culture, because in a lot of these like superhero movies and stuff, we see them fighting in New York, Chicago, Russia, Paris. We never see them fighting in India. We never see them fighting in South Africa. So I really liked that we got to see, even though it was a brief time that we spent in India. I like that we got to see a little sequence of that.
I love that it's still like in canon too, because this is Mumbattan, which is Mumbai and Manhattan fused together in this universe. So technically, it is still New York. It's just Indianized New York. And the same thing with Spider-Punk. Like, he's technically not in Britain actually, but it's Britain mixed with New York because it's Spider-Man. It always has to be New York. Even Spider-Man 2099, it's Nueve New York because it's New York. Or Nueve York
New
or
York.
whatever.
Nueve York.
So it's like it's really cool to see all the canon stuff they keep and they use and they just make it work.
And I also like that he called out that it's not chai tea, it's just chai, and not non bread, just non.
Yeah.
I definitely say chai tea.
I also say chai tea. Yeah. I love.
I've been
the
corrected
traffic
on the
joke.
non-bread. Yeah, I've been corrected on the non-bread because Yassi's Persian. But I still call chai tea.
The traffic joke got me where he's like, and here's the traffic, and here's the traffic, and over here there's some more traffic, and this. I'm like, because Mumbai already has tons of traffic. Manhattan has tons of traffic. Mix those two cities together, it's just nonstop traffic. It's bumper to bumper, like 24/7. It has to be.
I could see that. I mean, Seattle traffic has been getting worse lately. It's been driving me bonkers.
No pun intended. Driving you bonkers. Driving.
I didn't even know what I did, but I did it.
I also love Andy Samberg
Excuse me.
as Ben Reilly, even though technically he's not. I mean, he is Ben Reilly, but he's not Ben Reilly because there's another Spider clone named Kane who is the dramatic, like melodrama Spider-Man. But they instead make that Ben Reilly, who really isn't like that. Ben is really just another Peter. But if you have to give one a personality, I dug it still, making Ben Reilly the super like dramatic. Oh, I'm in the alley and I'm so dark, and it's just like, sure.
I think it fit.
Okay.
It fit him really well too, because he sounds like his past characters have acted like that. I'm mysterious. Are you really though?
Mm-hmm.
Mahershala Ali is always good at playing like these gritty,
Like the
dark
cool bad guy.
characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I saw that he was in this, I'm like, oh, I know exactly who he played. He played the uncle.
Well, he was in the last
How did you
one
feel
as
about the uncle? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
How did you feel about the Uncle Aaron coming back?
I'm glad he's back. I think, like, because the really cool thing about Uncle Aaron in the comics is that the big thing is that he knows Miles is Spider-Man. And so, but he's like, but he's still the Prowler. He still is like a bad guy. And his whole thing is like, Miles, you have spider powers. You should be using it to like steal stuff. You should be like me, be using your skills to just take whatever you want and do whatever. And Miles is like, no, I'm Spider-Man. I'm a good guy. I'm not going to do that. And it's this interesting dichotomy between the two of them as like, because Uncle Aaron still is his uncle. He still tries to teach him. And he's like, yeah, I'm still going to look out for you, but you should be using your powers for evil. Come on, just be evil. Come on. What are you doing out here? And so when they killed him in the first movie, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not getting any of that. All right. Never mind.
But well, then who knows if we'll be getting more of that because, like, technically this Uncle Aaron's from a different universe.
Yeah, and also it seems like Uncle Aaron in this universe is not the evil one. It's Miles. In this universe,
played by Jerome,
which is cool. I like Jerome. He's dope.
Yeah, that new show that he's in just came out. I'm a Virgo.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Where he plays like a 10-foot tall teenager or something.
Yeah, like a giant.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it seems like he's gonna have a huge part to play in the next film, Miles G. Morales, which I'm excited for. And it also seemed like they were setting up Spider-Bite as well, played by Amanda Stenberg, to have a big part in the next movie as well.
True. I like that was what I mean about the pacing issues though, because I'm like they were really dragging out the Miles is the Prowler in this universe reveal, because I'm like, do you think we like the second Uncle Aaron's like, I'm not the Prowler, I'm like, it's Miles, but they just steady drag it out. It's just like he's in the shadows, then he jumps down, still in the shadows, then he walks over in the shadow. I'm like, dude, we know it's Miles. Who else could it be? His dad's dead in this universe. Surprised. Uncle Aaron is not the Prowler. There's nobody else it could be. It's Miles. You don't need to drag it out this long.
Surprised. Well, it almost seemed for a second I didn't think there was going to be a Miles in this universe, because like the mom, with the way they had the mom seem confused, and then the dad's dead. I was like, oh, maybe like he died before Miles could even be born or something like that.
She's not surprised to see Miles when she sees him. She's just like, right. Oh, hey Miles, what's up?
But his hair was different. She's like, oh, your hair, what? You changed your hair. Which that would have been
a dead giveaway.
Right. But I loved that reveal, because initially when he's revealing to her that he's Spider-Man, it was like a sentimental moment. I was like, all right, yes. And then she's like, who's Spider-Man? And then I'm thinking like, oh, she just must not be into like, she must not know anything about her city. So
I knew something was up.
To find out that he didn't exist in this.
When he landed is when I knew something, because I was like, this doesn't look the same. Like, the art style's different. The city looks different. Everything about the world looks different.
It's everything.
I thought my door was opening because Ari's on her way, so I was just like, hold on, she's coming in now.
That's what I was saying. See, I didn't notice it, and that's what I mentioned about the art design being so smooth with their transitions, and the way everything kept glitching, at least for somebody who doesn't read the comics and doesn't know which universe is what. It wasn't really, I was more surprised by like, hey, there's this version of Spider-Man and this version. I wasn't really noticing the differences. I was like, because I had seen the TikToks where he reveals himself to be Spider-Man, and all these people in the theater, there's always one person going, he's black?
That was only one time, right? That was
there's been a couple incidents, and I actually just found a TikTok where it sounds like a kid did it. Nobody in the theater laughed. I actually felt bad for the kid. I was like, oh man.
Well, because after you do it so once, that's the one time. If everybody starts doing it, then it stops being funny because everybody's doing it.
No, I've found multiple videos where people are like doing that, and like first couple times, haha, and then after that it's just like, oh god, all right, let's knock that off now. But so I didn't notice those changes, and I had seen those TikToks of that, so I was like, oh, he's just revealing himself. You know, he's Spider-Man. When she's like, who's Spider-Man? I was like, oh, shit. I was like, this isn't right now. But it goes down to that art style where I'm like, everything is so smoothly done. And I really like the way. Because Gumball does this. The Amazing World of Gumball does this where they have each character is a different design. And we've talked about it in the show before. But those characters still look out of place for the universe that they're in. You know, a lot of them sometimes.
It's supposed to look like there's just a mix of characters.
Right, but like they don't ever like some of them can blend in with the scenery, but there are others that are like you know, they're technically the same drawing. They're still a drawing, but the style's so different. It kind of looks like you like not paper mache, but pasted them in weirdly. This one, even though they were all still so different art designs, none of them looked out of place next to each other. They were still somehow able to smooth it out among the crowd and among the background. Everybody actually still looked like they were supposed to be there, even though they were not of the right design. And like I said, you can absolutely tell how much work and time the animators have put into this because of how smoothly the drawings were, how smooth the transitions were. I loved, you know, that comic book style of when they just did the squares and sometimes like that, where it's like, oh, you're also transitioning to that, and that's really cool. It's not just a regular animated movie that you see with, you know, like Elemental. That's the only animation movie I can think of right now, where it's just like they have, like I said, this was like, all right, this is animation, then this is comic book, and it just mixed so well together. And I like I said before, this is definitely going to lead to a new standard where people are going to compare it to things where like, yeah, you tried to do the mixed universe, but like they kind of did it better.
So, or when like, they have the different close-ups of random things that are not so random, but they feel random in the moment. I like those moments because you have like half the screen is like the full shot, and then you have another half of the screen which is a close-up of something, or you'll just get like a random extreme close-up. Speaking of random question. His name is Miles Morales, and Morales is a traditionally Latin last name, but his dad is black and his mom is Puerto Rican. So does the dad have the mom's last name?
He does. They changed it in this because his name in the comics is Jefferson Davis, and Jefferson Davis is a Civil War general. So they didn't want to reference that. So they changed his name. So his name in the movie is Jeff Morales.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, granted, Miles Morales is his name in the comics too, and I think, but I think in the comics also Miles just takes his mom's last name, but his dad doesn't.
But the dad also's last name is Morales. Oh, Jeff. Oh, they gave the dad the mom's. Okay, got it.
Yes, they changed that for this movie specifically. Well,
but they don't ever really address it in the movie that he takes the mom's name.
No,
it's just Morales.
Yeah, it's just Morales. I think the only time you notice is when you see the memorial at the end when he finds out his dad's dead. It says Jeff Morales on it.
I never noticed that, but you are right. That is usually a Latin last name, and I think they chose good putting Morales because you know it's that whole like Prowler was trying to be like, hey, you should be evil Spider-Man, but he's like, hey, I got morals. See, it's even in my name, morals.
It works.
Well, because it's also because when Brian Michael Bendis made Miles Morales, he wanted to have that alliteration because there's Peter Parker, Miles Morales, like MMPP. So, because all the great comic book characters have that, you know what I mean? Clark Kent, Peter Parker, Wade Wilson.
CK.
But it's still the "k" in there. There's the "k," the "k" sound.
It's the "k" sound.
It feels like alliteration, even though it's literally not.
I mean, fair point.
I mean, Alex, now's your time to be in a superhero comic book or movie. Got the alliteration.
Even though like my name has both it's not as smooth as like Miles, because you need like the one syllable name. It's Miles.
Miles is two syllables.
It's two syllables.
Yeah.
My name's like 3 or 4.
Well, no, you have the same syllables as Miles Morales.
Are you going by
Miles?
my
Well, her
nickname or by
nickname
my
is
I've read
actual
your
name?
nickname.
but her
Yeah.
full name
Yeah.
is not
Your nickname.
Alex.
Right.
I learned.
Well, but who would call you Alexandra when you fighting bad guys?
It's my proper name. Actually, a lot of people call. It was so funny. I found out somebody didn't know. So at work, I tell people I actually tell everybody dealer's choice, Alex or Alexandra. I go by both. I am as I'm getting older, I am preferring Alexandra more. But like, I have no issues with people calling me Alex, and like, mostly it's my friends who call me Alex, so it's like never a big deal. Like a week or two, I learned somebody didn't know that when another person was talking about Alexandra, they were talking about me. And so they were like, "Oh no, Alex did that." And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, you said Alexandra. Who's Alexandra?" And she's like, "Alex is short for Alexandra." And they were like, "Oh," and I was like, "It's not even like a different nickname or something. That is literally just the beginning part of my name." I feel like that is
Like Richard and Dick.
Yeah, it wasn't like James and Jim. Nothing like it's Alex and Alex, and it's like
Yeah, I used to work
so
for a
confused by that.
guy. I had a boss named Craig. Well, that's how he went by as Craig. His real name is Earl. And one time he got a call, like at the, because this is at Joseph A. Bank, and they were like, "Hey, I'm looking for Earl." I said, "Earl?" And I go over to one of my other supervisors. I was like, "Hey, do we have an Earl that works here?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Craig." And the way he said it was just like, duh, it's Craig. I'm like, you act like those names have any correlation. Craig has nothing to do with Earl. How would I know that?
I agree. I don't like it when people are like, if I go by I don't have a middle name, but yeah, if I went by my middle name, a completely different name or something. How do you get Craig out of Earl? He's like, I don't want to be called Earl.
Maybe it's
Maybe
a
that was
middle
just-
name thing.
Maybe that may have been his middle name, or maybe he just didn't want to, like, because, in a professional world,
Maybe
I don't
he
think
on
you
the
want to be
run.
called Earl. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's what you want your name to be when you're, like, trying to be a CEO or something.
Or maybe he's on the run.
Craig's better. I have a coworker. Her name is Ayana, but like for some reason people can't understand that through the phone. So like she'll give out these other names, and people will call, be like, "Oh, I'm calling for Sandra or something," and I'm like, "Is this you?" Because we don't have anybody here, so I'm assuming it's you. She's like, "Yeah, that's me." I'm like, "Stick to one name." I'm like,
My
if somebody, yeah, she
my
needs to stick
sister
with
says
one
she-
name.
My sister says she goes by, whenever she orders stuff, and you have to give a name. She goes by it was like Stephanie or something, and her name is Tanea because like no one ever can either spell it right or say it right, so she just goes by like Stephanie.
I will go by Alice when I'm ordering stuff on the phone or like at Starbucks because for some reason people hear that instead of Alex. I think it's the way I say my exes sometimes. And so they're like, Alice? I'm like, yeah. So now I'll order stuff like Alice because it's easier. That's what people hear apparently.
For me,
But
people hear John all the time. They apparently don't hear the last two syllables in the Jonathan. They just hear John.
What do
see,
you
at
like?
least
Back to
wait. At least people have the like decency to ask me if I go by Alex or Alexandra. They just put John on you. That doesn't feel right. I'm gonna start calling you Jerry, Jerome. I feel like you need
Yeah.
a nickname.
Yeah, well, too late. I already have a person that calls me Jerry, and he's the only one allowed that allotment.
Can I call you Mo?
Like Jerry Seinfeld. His name is
No.
Jerome.
Om. Go by your last by the end of your last
Om.
first. Om.
Om.
What do you guys think about Miguel O'Hara? Because
Played by
he's
Oscar
a
Isaac.
big part of this movie. Yeah, Oscar Isaac. Which that's the other thing. They completely changed his design because he's in the after credits of Into the Spider-Verse, and he looks like pretty much a normal Spider-Man. And then in this one, they were like, "Nah, let's make him look jacked, look big and strong."
Well, I saw a couple TikToks where they talked about that, about like why they changed his design, and they're like, oh, because he went through his canon event, and then he fully gave himself to being Spider-Man, so he like got bigger because that's like all he does now, you know, working out, fighting criminals, flinging about.
I
Yeah.
I liked the character. I think it was a great slow progression into villainy. It wasn't too quick. It wasn't like this moment just happened and all of a sudden he's bad now. It was like you saw the seeds kind of being planted, and then at the end you have the culmination of that. At the beginning when he first showed up, speaking of these kids in this theater, oh, there was one kid in the middle that was like, there were a lot of kids in my showing for some reason, if you couldn't tell already. But there was one kid that was like, Spider-Man 99 or 2099. What? 2099.
Sounds like they're calling out a price.
Right.
$29.99.
Spider-Man for $29.99. Did I hear $21.99? Did I hear
And that got
22?
And the kid next to me that got him hyped, and he was like, he heard that and he was like, he's my favorite Spider-Man. So
He's a
kids
cool
was
Spider-Man.
hyped.
He has a cool costume.
These kids were hyped for also the fact that it was a Latino Spider-Man, and these kids that were calling out, that were saying that it was his favorite. These kids were Latino, so their representation is good.
Representation really does matter. It really shows in this movie.
Now we just need an Asian Spider-Man.
You have one, Penny Parker.
Was she in this movie?
Yeah, she was in the last one, like as a major character.
She
She's
was
the
a
one with
major
the
character
robot.
in the last one, but I don't think
that's
I
right.
saw her.
She's
in
at the
this
end
one.
of this movie.
Oh,
Like,
when
she's
they're
at the-
teaming up, yeah.
Well, she's at that part, but she also shows up in a small part when Miles is like arguing with the rest of the Spider-Man. She shows up too to be like, Miles, like they're right. You have to kind of let this happen. I'm sorry. It's very brief. She's not in it for very long. I'm sure she's gonna do more in the next movie, but I think they did that because she was a big character in the first movie, so they're like, we're not gonna give Penny as much time as we're gonna give these other characters this time around.
Why not though?
Because she's going to be important in the next movie. It's not like she's not there at all. She's there. She's just not going to be important until part 2.
I think it showed, other than like how much the other characters weren't really in the front of it, because it kind of made it feel like they were ashamed to be agreeing with Miguel.
Probably. Because
They're like, we don't
were.
want to admit it, but like we're gonna hang out in the back so you don't see us, but like we're with the crowd, man.
I do because I don't think he would, like, because there is a bad guy in this movie. We'll get to him in a bit, but I don't think, like, I do like Miguel O'Hara as an antagonist. I wouldn't call him a bad guy. I would say antagonist, only because, like, yes, he is against Miles, but he's not necessarily wrong, because the way he explains what it is, like, you see both sides of it, where you see Miles's point of being like, no, dude, like, anything's possible if we put our minds to it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, Miles, you're talking about forces you don't fully understand. For you, it's as simple as, well, we could just save them. What's the big deal? It's like, if you but then for Miguel, it's like, I have seen timelines and I've experienced this firsthand. I've literally replaced myself in another universe and tried to be that Spider-Man, and then watched that entire universe crumble into bits and destroy everything. So don't tell me that it's possible, because I'm telling you it's not. I've seen it happen. And so I'm like, that's interesting to have those two sides of it, where it's like you can understand where Miguel's coming from. Even if, I'm assuming in part 2 we're going to find out something opposite. But for now, I think they do a great job setting up both sides of the argument and why both people feel so strongly about their side of it.
That's true. And with this, it also shows, like, it's that whole, would you save the one person or would you save the universe dilemma that Miles is put in. And Miguel already had that. He's like, well, I can save another person by going to this other universe. And then he did that, but then he lost the whole universe in general. So I think that's also an interesting concept when you it's not necessarily that he tried to right his wrong, but he did also just try to take over a whole nother universe, whereas Miles isn't technically going to, well, he did, but he wasn't trying to go to another universe. He was just trying to adjust his own timeline. And I think I'm sure, yeah, they're absolutely going to address this in the next one. His timeline's already screwed up with him being Spider-Man. So it's like his reality is not the same as the other's reality. He's so different now. And I like I said, I think we're going to see that brought up in the second one about how he's technically not supposed to be Spider-Man. It was a spider from Universe 42 that popped in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which leads us into the actual villain. Although I feel like he didn't get much screen time. Yeah, Spot.
And side note, we technically did have an Asian Spider-Man. Not technically, we did have an Asian Spider-Man in this movie with Paviter. But
yeah,
East
South Asian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
We lacked an East Asian Spider-Man.
No, we don't. Penny exists. All right? You're not going to take that from her. She's literally a main character in the last movie.
I know. What,
in this
is
movie.
this the last movie? Right. Are we talking about?
I'm saying the movie. I mean, last movie in the sense of like the previous movie.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Spider-Man into.
I'm just saying, you're acting like Penny don't exist. She does exist. She's been around.
She was just ashamed and hiding with like Spider-Man Noir.
And she even has speaking lines in this movie. All right, it's not like she's not
like
there. She has like 2 lines, but still,
she has 2 lines.
She has lines.
Okay, at the beginning of this movie, we talked about how Issa Rae and Jessica wasn't that important to the movie. And now you trying to say Penny is a crucial character to this film?
No, I didn't say she's crucial. You're just acting like there's no Asian spider person. And I'm saying
but
Penny exists.
When we talk representation, we mean in quantity and quality. We don't want to just see the
faces. She got a whole movie.
But not this one. Okay?
So Spot, I'm gonna just move on there. What was his deal?
I like the Spot. I like that they used that character because he kind of the Spot sucks like in the comics.
And I liked how they started him off with that, like him being a horrible, like criminal. But he kind of
I don't think he's in the comics. I think he's from the cartoons, actually. One of the cartoons is where the Spot comes from, and he's not great. He's like a villain of the week.
He kind of just disappeared towards the end of the movie. Like, he actually towards like midway through the movie, he kind of disappeared.
Yeah, and that's why I say like the pacing issues are there. And I know that this is supposed to be a part. That's why it's hard to judge this movie because it's a part 1 of a 2-part story. So, because for all we know, in the next movie, the Spot could be like a major character and get like so much screen time. And that's why he had little screen time in this movie. Because they had to set up Miguel and the Spider Society and all that other stuff. And so they chose to do that in this movie. And in the next movie, we're going to find out more about, we're going to get more Spot. But I'm just like,
I was trying to actually find the article that originally he had a bigger part to play, and at the beginning he apparently takes Spider-Man to the Void, which is like some bar or something like that. I'll try to find it. And then there was an after credit scene or a mid credit scene that was also cut, which had to do with Spot and him going to destroy this place, this bar. I gotta find it. But so I think there were 2 scenes that were meant to have Spot in it, and they took it out. So I feel like we just got what was left, and that's why it's like not fulfilling. What is his deal? Why is he glitchy? What's going on with that?
Well, it's not that he's glitchy. It's that he can go between universes, like at will. He doesn't have to. But or I see what you mean. Yeah, he gets all scratchy at the end. Because he's absorbed so much power that now he's become like essentially a singular Spot. Like he can go anywhere, he can destroy universes at will, like that sort of thing. So he's basically like he's unstable now. Versus when in the beginning he's stable, he just has a few spots here and there that he can use to go in between universes and stuff like that.
So the spots are just little portals to the multiverse on him.
Right. Yeah. Granted, I love his design too, that he looks like a sketch. Like if you look the details in his body, he's like got the construction lines of like, this is the circle, this is the lines of his chin, these are the lines to like outline his like shoulder and stuff. Like he looks like the pre-render, like when you're drawing something before you start adding in like the inks and details and everything like that. Which I love everyone's design, because Spider-Man 2099 had that too, where he looks like an engineering drawing, where like his face has the construction lines and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's really cool. So I love that that's the Spot's design, because technically he's like untethered to anything now. So now he is like kind of like a loose caricature of a person, but really he's like, you know.
Got it. According to Phil Lord and producer partner Christopher Miller, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, there was a scene that got cut where Spot tries to get a drink at a Spidey villain bar but fails because no one notices him. Another scene was planned where Spot returns to the bar as a powerful character and defeats all the villains who made fun of him. So that beginning scene was cut, and then that end scene was cut to show his growth of power.
I see that why that was cut though, because it kind of does feel like, as far as the story wise, that would kind of come out of nowhere, and it's like they're already trying to do so much. It would feel like a distraction in my mind.
I could see them keeping that like maybe as like a beginning scene, and then having that part where he goes back to the bar as a beginning scene again, and where he's defeated all the villains, kind of like to show the growth of power throughout the movies. But I get what you're saying at the same time, because he wasn't as prominent as a player as the other characters, that would have just felt like, we're just going to slot this in here to show you, but like we're not going to do anything with it, which is one of the most frustrating things when it comes to movies, where you're like, you showed me the scene, you made it a thing, and then you walked away from it. Why, man? Why'd you do that to me?
But I think Jason Schwartzman is great though, because he does a great job playing, because he's a comedic actor, so he gets the comedy across very well when he's playing the Spot, when he's like a loser. But when the Spot starts getting powerful, Jason Schwartzman, I remember watching Scott Pilgrim and being like, man, this guy kind of is scary when he wants to be. And so it's cool to see Jason Schwartzman play a villain again, and he's creepy when the Spot gets like all powerful and like and everything like that. Like he's kind of scary, and I'm like,
yeah, I noticed that too.
Kind of terrifying, actually.
It's a good dichotomy, because it starts pretty comedic and then it goes into terror.
Mm-hmm.
I do like how, when you mentioned earlier I meant to say this about his crude drawings, because everybody is so much more detailed in things. That's kind of like, in a way, it's scary itself, because that's like the basis of them, that they're just scribbles too. And he's kind of a reminder of that. Like, even though I know everybody in that world is like real, but like, yeah, it's that basis of like, this is you're blank paper with, pen marks, and that's it. And he's like a good reminder of that. Like every pen mark was a new multiverse, was something else, because they were still designing him. And when he gets to that end, it's still that scribble, the chaos of like, you're not a full person yet, but you are definitely something that's like havoc and chaos that's on a page that we all can see. And that is really cool how they like amped up his design to, again, still fit into that whole, it's a drawing style, but it's that like chaotic drawing style you do at like 2 a.m. when you can't sleep, and you're like, I think I have an idea, and then it's like, I don't know what this was when you wake up the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the sketchy look at the end.
Yeah. And speaking of, and then we could like, I guess last thing, and then we could.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to hit, but we'll like go ahead and say what your thing.
Okay, you do that.
Huh? Oh, well, I was gonna say, I was like, we can't end this review without talking about the Easter eggs, or at least some of our favorite ones.
Oh, well, that was basically what I was gonna mention. I was gonna say the same thing, like, because we have the different universes. We have, Lego.
There's just small in jokes and stuff. There's different universes. The Lego thing.
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, like Donald, which that's a great Easter egg, because anybody who's seen Spider-Man Homecoming, that's like almost like a payoff for them, because he plays Aaron Davis in that movie. He's the Prowler, And then everybody got super excited when that movie came out, and he was like, he said that line to Spider-Man where he's like, yeah, I got a nephew around here, and I don't want this neighborhood to be dangerous if those weapons are gonna like cause problems. So a lot of people are like, oh shoot, Miles Morales is in the MCU, he's gonna be Spider-Man, which I'm sure that'll never happen because Sony has these successful movies with Miles Morales. They're never gonna let that happen. But this was like a cool payoff of that, where you see Donald Glover in the Prowler costume, like full Prowler costume in this movie live action. It's like, that's kind of cool that they paid it off, even though we'll probably never see that in the MCU ever. So, although there's a lot of live action in this, because Andrew Garfield shows up too, and Tobey Maguire shows up. Or there's a scene from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies. I'm like, there's a lot of live action in this, actually.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Even when Miguel,
it felt a little, at some points when we were going into these different universes, it felt a little bit everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah. Even when Miguel pulls up, he's like, here's the multiverse, and the multiverse he pulls up is the multiverse tree from MCU. So arguably the Spider-Verse, like this Spider-Verse universe, is in there somewhere. Like when go to,
yeah, because it's a multiverse. There's gotta be one where they like look like us.
So that's kind of cool. They have the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon pop up, like that animated one where it's like all 3D animated. That's Spectacular Spider-Man. I love that cartoon. It's one of the best Spider-Man cartoons in a long time. Insomniac video game Spider-Man shows up from Spider-Man PS4. So I was like, that's cool.
I know me and Alex didn't catch none of these. But
listen, the whole time my eyes were glued to the screen, like looking for all of them.
I was just trying to figure out which Spider-Man I'm supposed to be paying attention to.
Right.
But the funny thing about the Lego one, though, the cool fun fact about that. So the origin of that section is that the first Spider-Verse trailer came out like way back. And like the early teaser where it was just Miles being chased by all the spider people, and then it was like, coming soon, Spider-Verse. A kid who's like probably, I don't know, like 12 or something around that age, made a Lego animated version of that trailer, and it was really good. It was like it was really spot on. They saw that. Like the producers, and they hired that kid to make the Lego universe for this for the movie. So he actually did that. That's really because cool. He did that trailer. And I was like, awesome. That's really cool. It's a black kid. He like loved it. He had a great time, and he posted on his Twitter, and because he was super excited. He's like, dude, they let me do a thing in the movie, like make a Lego version in the movie.
That's where I had like some when I hear, because I've heard a little bit like some stories about when they do that gives me more hope for the movie, because I'm like, clearly you're seeing like, hey, this is good work. It may be by some quote unquote nobody, but like, it's such good work, we need to do this. And it's like, yes, you literally are getting the best. That's fantastic. And like, who doesn't love Legos? I love Legos. Right?
Because like, just because they don't have a famous parent, are born into nepotism, doesn't mean they're any less talented.
That's right. I thought that was a really cool story. I was like, that's really cool.
No, that's great. And that kid got something on his resume so early.
I also love Gwen's universe real quick, because my girl Ari was really jazzed or really loving the look of Gwen's universe when we see it, and I was like, it's really cool because that's how the comic looks too, because I remember when the comics
like the watercolors, the paintings.
Yeah, it was a very watercolory style, and a lot of it uses negative space really well, because her hood being white and her mask being white. There were a lot of times in the comic they would do a stylized thing where there would be no lines differentiating where the hood stops and the mask begins, so it would just be this blank white space, and it would be really neat and interesting. But what would break it up was the black space in her hood with the web pattern in it. And so I was like, that's really cool that they added that style into, even when her and her dad are having that heart to heart, and then behind them is just the changing backgrounds to match their emotions. I was like, that's really cool. So I really loved all of Gwen's stuff was great. I really loved her stuff with her dad, especially when her dad is like, I quit my job. Like, wait, you're not captain anymore? And I'm like, is that all it takes to not die? So you're telling me if Miles just goes back to his universe and tells his dad to quit his job, he'll live because he's not going to be the police captain anymore.
Canon event was her Peter dying.
No, like Spider people have multiple, because that's what Miles was saying. He's like, what about Uncle Ben? It's like, yeah, Uncle Ben died. Then Captain Stacy died. Then Gwen Stacy died. Like it's constant trauma for the Spider people. That's why when Gwen Stacy's like, in every universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man, and in every other universe, it doesn't work out well. I'm like, yeah, because you die, because you're supposed to. Gwen Stacy is always supposed to die. The only reason Spider-Gwen exists is because they did a cool variant cover of what if Gwen Stacy was a Spider-Man and had a spider costume, and people loved it so much they turned it into a comic book. That's the only reason Spider-Gwen exists. So it's like, technically, you're supposed to be dead too. But you get to live another day, whatever.
Jerome tells Gwen Stacy, shut up. You lucky you on borrowed time.
Damn.
So
Jerome,
anyways,
you cold.
Final thoughts. Jerome. You're not cussing out Gwen Stacy.
No, I love Spider-Gwen. I think she's cool. She definitely gets a lot more to do in these movies than she did in the comics. Yeah, Gwen Stacy's not Gwen Stacy. Spider-Verse is cool. I love this movie a lot.
Gwen Stacy Spider-Verse.
I mean, it basically is for 15 minutes of this movie when it starts. It is Gwen Stacy Spider-Verse. We didn't get to talk about Gwen as much. But Gwen's awesome in this movie. I love her story. I love her kind of having the side story in this story. I think it fits thematically with what's going on in the storytelling. But Miles' story is great in this movie. I love his relationship with his mom. I'm glad we get to focus on that because we focused on his dad in the first movie. So this movie, we get to focus on him and his mom in this movie. And I think that's great. And then just all the different Easter eggs, all the different spider people, like all of the storylines, how they all are very cohesive and tie together very well. All the different animation styles blend very well. This movie is a masterclass in how to do an animated movie with so many different styles and make them all still work and feel cohesive, and how to do amazing editing for an animated film too. The editing for this film is top notch. It's very solid. There is the pacing issue, but for the most part, how scenes are put together, like even when they do the comic book panels and everything like that, it all blends really well, and it doesn't feel like anything's out of place or feels awkwardly introduced. They use the screen very well. I watched this at the Pacific Science Center IMAX, and when stuff happens at the corner of the screen, I have to like literally turn my head to look over because it's all the way down to the bottom. But I think that's cool. I like a movie that utilizes the entirety of the screen and everything isn't just dead center. That's a neat idea. They utilize it very well. So all in all, I would give this movie a tentative A, and I say tentative because we don't know what part 2 is like. So if part 2 is really good, that will bump this movie up for me to A+ status. And that movie will probably also get A+ status if it's really good. But we'll see. If not, this will just stay at an A. But for now, because it's only the first part of... And I know we gave Fast X a hard grade, even though it's also a part 1.
Fast X deserved it, and you know damn well it did.
It's true. But I'm just saying, it's all's fair is fair. I am giving this a tentative A. For now, I'm sure even if it does drop, it's only going to drop to an A- because I still feel like this movie was great. And I can't wait to see the next one. So if you haven't seen it already, which at this point, you just heard us spoil so much of the movie. If you've made it this far.
Some people like that.
But yeah, that's true. But if you haven't seen it already, go see it. Or if you have seen it, bring a friend, take a friend who hasn't seen it and take them to go see it. Support this movie so that it can finally get nominated for the Oscar
It won the Oscar last
Did the
time.
first one win the Oscar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, well, let this one also get nominated and also win the Oscar. So Disney and all the other animation studios could start taking some notes. DreamWorks already did, because Puss in Boots has a similar style. It has that painterly style and the same frame rate. Undone was great too.
Oh, that's why everybody loved it so much, Puss in Boots.
Yeah,
why is everybody loving Puss in Boots so much? But
It's a cute
if
movie.
they took notes from Spider-Verse, then
They
I mean,
did.
it's Puss in Boots, but like it just popped off so big out of nowhere. Maybe
It
that
had-
could be one of our reviews in the
It's
future,
on
Puss in
Peacock
Boots.
now. Puss in Boots, three wishes or the last
the
wish
Last Wish, yeah.
is on Peacock now. Just
Yeah,
to
the
let
animation
people know.
style they went with for that movie is similar to Spider-Verse. They don't do a bunch of different animation styles and mix them together, but it's one animation style, but it is the similar thing of like the drawn on characters with the speed lines and like more painter look, like that sort of thing. So it's like DreamWorks like picked up on it. They're like, oh shoot, this is working, we could do this, all right, we're doing it. Y'all need to take some notes.
But the thing is, we love it now. But once everybody starts copying it, will we still love it in like 5 years?
Well,
time?
listen, I don't think anyone will do it better than this. I think Spider-Verse is like, because they're doing comic book, they're doing a bunch of different styles mixed together. I think everyone's going to do what Puss in Boots did, where it's like one style. We're doing one thing. We're not going to go this crazy with it. So I think Spider-Verse will still stand on its own. But I'm just saying, take some ideas from this, I think, to like change up your
Speaking of,
animation.
there's another Shrek movie. They announced that
Why?
Shrek is coming back.
No! Let Shrek die. Do the Puss in Boots movies. Do Pinocchio or something. I don't know. There's other characters in the Shrek universe you could do movies of. Do not do more Shrek. I'm sorry.
You don't
Leave it
want to see
alone.
Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy?
No.
No.
and Cameron
You want to know
Diaz
why?
coming
Because
back?
Shrek 4 was trash.
Well, nobody remembers Shrek 4, but like when
Yeah, I was like, which one was Shrek 4?
right.
It's one of
But
Rumpelstiltskin.
you could have a resurgence. Like
Oh, that's right.
nobody remembers this random like some of the like if you think about it, and I'm just using this as an example, not trying to shade the Halloween movies, but like there are some Halloween movies that go by the wayside. But then when it came back, Halloween 2018, that came back bigger and better than ever. So that could happen with Shrek.
Sure.
I don't have faith in it. But, I don't know.
They just have
Trailer
to call
might
it
be
Shrek
great.
or the Shrek.
The
They can't call it
Shrek.
Shrek 5.
The Shrek.
Shrek.
Just reboot it.
Ogre Tales. Anyway, Jonathan, what's your final grade for this movie?
Anyway, so many tangents. I will give this movie an A as well. I'm giving my experience a C minus, but I'm giving the movie an A.
That's fair.
Was so engaged. I was even more engaged with this than the first one. I think the circumstances I watched the first one in, I was working and I was tired, so I wasn't in that right headspace. This movie I watched on a full night's sleep, so I was ready to watch it, and I was engaged and I was fully invested. I loved the total arc of the movie. I felt like it took us on a good journey. The time was a little bit long for me, but it wasn't too terribly long. But if I had to change anything, I would maybe cut like 20 minutes of this movie. Like I said at the beginning, the action sequences were hitting for me. I loved all of the different spider people that showed up in the movie. And yeah, it was a good journey that I felt like I went on during this movie. The different animation styles, how it would like seamlessly change from one to another. I really appreciated that. And also I appreciated like a lot of the cultural elements as well. I felt like we got a good gist of many different cultures in a way that was like just natural to the story. Like these are who we're getting, and these are the people that we're getting, and these are their cultures. So yeah, I really enjoyed many aspects of this film.
Nice.
And I don't have too many negatives about it. except the timing.
Yeah, the movie was a bit long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex.
Well, I don't have much negative to say about the movie, but it's more like the personal circumstances for me. I really enjoyed the movie. I keep saying it's now set a new standard for how animation is going to be presented, especially when you're doing multiple designs in one movie. The animators definitely need to get paid more, need to be treated better. Same with the writers. People need to be paid and treated as human beings and paid living. And I really loved the story. I thought the movie was a little too long, but it was still a good story. I wish they maybe gave Spot a little more screen time or explained him, especially if they're going to try to bring him back in the second one. And if they're going to make him an actual villain in the second one. I really like the progression of Miguel and his, it's not even he was being evil, but he was being that, the lawful good.
Yeah.
Where it's
definitely.
it's too far off to
Or-
side where you're like,
Like lawful evil.
Well, no, lawful good, or not lawful good.
Lawful good is
more,
like you're good and you follow the law.
well, he was following
you're
the
thinking,
laws of
you're
his,
thinking
the
chaotic
universe.
good.
Or
He
chaotic
wasn't
good, yeah.
chaotic though.
Well, good, in the sense that he's like I am dedicated to good to the point where I don't care if I have to kill some people to do it. I don't care how many people I
Okay,
have to kill to do it. I will
Right.
as long as it's for the greater good, then the odds justify the means for me.
It's lawful good, chaotic good, and
Lawful good is you are so dedicated to the law that you are like
there's like a third one.
neutral good. That's just a regular person.
I feel like
regular
even
good
lawful
person.
goods that well, chaotic is as long as it's doing good, but lawful good is he's following it. He's following his own laws, but it's a law that canon events happen. It doesn't matter. Nothing changes. This is what is supposed to happen.
I guess that that could also be lawful
it's
good.
in that
'cause
spectrum of
lawful good is the you are so stringently dedicated to the rules that you live by that anything breaking that is no. These are the
Peacemaker.
rules.
Yeah, it's lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil.
Right.
Yeah. So I think he's more lawful good, kind of like how they presented Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, where it's no matter what, I'm doing my job, and that's supposed to be for the greater good and stuff
Well,
that's
more chaotic good. That's what chaotic good would be. Lawful good is lawful good is
because he's
basically
not chaotic. He has things planned. It's proper and straight, and you can see how it elevates to where he gets to the end of the story.
No, but what I mean is chaotic good is where you're willing to make sacrifices as long as it's for the greater good, even if on paper that probably is a messed up way to do it. But it's no, but this is for the greater good though. This is for the good of other people. Even if it means bad things have to happen to others. Lawful good would be more it's black and white. There is only good and there is bad. There is no gray area of well, if
that's
we
how
do
he
this.
there was no gray area with him. He was this has to happen this way. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
well, audience, comment below. What do you think?
was he lawful good or chaotic good?
The examples from this website, the superhero examples that they have for these people: lawful good Superman, neutral good.
Yeah, neutral.
Star Trek's Captain Kirk, chaotic good Robin Hood, lawful. I'm not gonna.
It's fine.
No. Yeah,
I get that.
But I mean,
Anyway,
I mean that makes sense because it's lawful good is Superman's there is the justice system and that's what we will follow. That is how we will do it. Versus Robin Hood's who screw the justice system. Poor people are starving. I'm stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. Well, won't the rich be starving? Fuck them. I'm stealing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Eat the rich. But that's what it was. And you can see that, and it's a very well, even with the pacing and everything, his character is a good, like, elevation. His was steady. The only problems I had with this film was, like, for personal reasons. I had mentioned with my ADHD, the constant introductions of different Spider-Men kind of mess with me and sent me into, like, not a panic, but a little anxiety where I'm like, all right, I have to remember who's important, which character is which actor is playing which character. So it's like, it was like a lot of information thrown at me at that time. And then also, this has more to do with, I have photosensitivity, which can trigger migraines. And there was a lot of flashing and shifting and just bright light, which ironically, I absolutely loved the color usage in this film. It was always bright and beautiful, and it was so well done, and it never seemed off or like, and all the colors definitely represented each Spider-Man so well too. But it's the way they flash through some things or they change scenes. It did mess with me, and thankfully I already have like a routine that helps me from triggering migraines when watching movies. But that was still something, if you have photosensitivity, you need to watch out for in this film. It's nothing like The Incredibles. They don't need to put out a warning, but like definitely the changing and the white flashes like really can mess with you. So with that, I kind of have to give this movie a B because it caused me to have to be on guard to watch it, which kind of killed my experience with it. But it's still such a good story. I felt like it was a little long. Animation's amazing. All the characters were really well placed. I really loved how we got to have more Latin Miles. I thought that was really nice. Like we say, representation really does matter, because I was like, hey, it's cool to have two cultures, you know, be presented when it's just one character, when you're a mixed race character. I was like, that's really beautiful to be seen, because neither one was discrediting the other. Never at one point where she's like, hey, you got to remember your Spanish. She's like, I'm black. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no, that was never something that was important. He's just like, I have more important things to do, which at the time it was, the mom didn't know, of course. So again, representation always important, and it's done beautifully and respectfully in this movie, which I really do appreciate. And I'm excited to see the second movie and see how they're gonna talk more about the multi-universe, because I, again, big fan of multi-universes, time travel, and all that sci-fi stuff. If it's about the multi-universe, I'm automatically probably gonna love the movie. That's a lie. Time Loop, the movie on HBO Max, it's shit. But this movie was not. I recommend people go see it.
I just thought about this too. Who knows what's going to tie into the second movie? Because literally in this movie, we find out that the Spot is the guy who got the bagel thrown at him in the first movie. A character I'm sure nobody thought was going to come back at all.
I don't even remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
In the movie, when he's explaining his backstory, he's like, you created me. You threw a bagel at me.
I don't remember the bagel guy.
Yeah, no, I don't remember the bagel part.
That's what I'm saying. He's so inconsequential, because in the first movie, it's when they're running out of the science lab, when they're being chased by Doc Ock, played by Katherine Hahn. There's a scene, like there's a whole joke where Spider-Man's like, we're going to go in there, we're going to steal a bagel, and then we're going to get out of here. So they take a bagel, and as they're running away, Miles throws a bagel, and it hits this random scientist way in the back. That is like, if you're not really paying attention, which you wouldn't be, you can see just a small indentation when it hits him that says bagel. Like when he gets hit with the bagel. It's like so small. It's such a small thing, and yet that's become a big thing in this movie.
I feel like if you go back to watch the first one, you'll see so many like foreshadowings and like clues and stuff. Because I've seen a couple other things pop up about how they had actually 42 put on the spider that's coming down and biting Miles. So I was like, they hit a lot of stuff in the first one to set up the second one. And it makes me want to go back and watch it, be like, all right, I have this knowledge. Now I want to see what you were hiding from me.
It's I'm sure there's going to be like one of the small details that someone pointed out to me in this one is that scene when they're in the office together, like talking to the guidance counselor, and his mom snaps at him. It's a Puerto Rican flag, because they're Puerto Rican. So the snap is accentuated with the Puerto Rican flag, like symbol. I'm like, that's cool. It's something that you wouldn't catch otherwise, but it's really cute and interesting. And I'm like, it's why I'm saying, like, I watch these movies. I'm gonna watch this movie multiple times to catch all the little stuff that you just don't see, because it's fun and I love the movie so much that I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie, even with the issues I had. Like I said, they definitely were just like me issues. And I have to do stuff, to watch movies because I suffer from migraines and photosensitivity. But this movie it was so good, and I was so happy to watch it because I cannot stop talking about the animation style and how well they seamlessly threw it together. It really is beautifully done and just setting a new standard, and I hope they get the same animators back and they treat them right and they pay them properly so we can have this magic again in the next one.
Yeah, they're talking about possibly doing a Spider-Gwen movie, just her own movie, after these are over.
If they keep it with the watercolors, that'd be really cool.
So, I imagine they're trying to like, they should pay the animators to get them back to do that, because these two movies are done. But
now nobody getting paid because of the writer's strike.
I mean, it's true. The writer's strike has kept everything, like, they're like, Hollywood's cooling right now, but let me tell you, when 2024 hits, they're gonna start feeling it. Of like, so what shows we got on the docket? What do you mean, what shows? We didn't write anything. We haven't made anything. Nothing's finished.
I heard they're gonna try to go forward with recording Deadpool, but they're like, you can't ad-lib when you're doing like a movie that has no writers to adjust things. So they're like, oh, Ryan Reynolds, you'll just have to be on script. And it's like, do you not know that man's acting style? I've seen any of his movies. I don't think he looks at a script.
And with like, the writers are on set constantly, like, adjusting and everything. So,
well, also think about it this way too. Writer directors aren't working either. James Gunn, who's supposed to be writing that Superman movie, I mean, there's a script done, but he can't make adjustments if he wants to, because he's also part of the WGA. So he just has to direct the movie as is. And it's like, and there's plenty of writer directors that are probably like, I mean, I'd love to write on my movie, but I'm with the WGA, and so
yeah,
I can't write nothing else. I'm sorry.
Well, James Gunn has like a whole other bag of issues to deal with. So I think writing the scripts are really the least of his problems with what's been going on lately over there at Warner Brothers DC area. He's got a whole boatload of things to fix before they should even try to consider filming right now.
But it's just, there's a lot of projects that are on hold and probably will be on hold for a long time.
Foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that is our review
of Spider-Man into the
Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse. That's right.
See?
Different movie.
Oh.
Across the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse. Different movie. Comment below. Tell us what you thought about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you excited for the next one? Do you have any wishes of what character you want to see more of? Do you want to see Penny Parker more? I know Jonathan does.
That's
right.
right.
Proud of him because he wants that representation.
Right.
She's already on the cast list for Beyond the Spider-Verse, like up on the main front page. So I'm sure she's going to be a very important character in the next movie. Her and Indian Spider-Man both are going to hang out. Probably have a lot to talk about.
As well. He plays the guy in Deadpool.
Yeah, he's Dopinder in Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, comment below. Tell us what you think. Other than that, socials. Jonathan, go.
Yes, you can follow me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can also follow us at The First Ones to Die on all your favorite social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you there. Go ahead and follow us there. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, give us a comment as well. What were your thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse? And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and give us 5 stars and a rating. We would really appreciate that. It would mean a lot to us if you would rate and review us. Alex, where can people find you at?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find me also on the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of the episodes, as well as what we may be watching in the future, and my own little commentary of movies and things I just randomly do when I'm bored. But also check out the social media on Monday, or when this comes out, or even Tuesday. I will post pictures of the Pride event, which I'm, again, very excited to be walking and able to represent the queer community, as I am one of them. But I'm super excited to just do the parade again. It was so fun last time, and just, I can't wait to do it again. Jerome, where are we finding you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram. And you can also follow us on the YouTube channel for extra content you can't get on all the podcast platforms, stuff like gaming content, book reviews, mini reviews, blogs, gaming videos, all types of stuff. So if you are watching us on YouTube, great, make sure you subscribe, but also be on the lookout for any of that extra content stuff, because you never know when we're dropping it, and the only way to stay updated is to follow us on our social medias as well, to know when we're dropping new stuff to the YouTube channel exclusively. So be on the lookout for that.
Nice. Next week, Black Mirror Season 6.
That's right.
It's currently out right now, so go ahead and watch it so you can be caught up while we discuss our thoughts. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
It's only 6 episodes, right?
I think, is it 5?
Yes.
5 or 6?
5?
I think it's 6.
Okay.
But this is really cool because it's almost like a throwback to when we did Black Mirror for our first episode ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, back when we were still behind the usher station.
Right.
Back on a day that I was sick. Yeah, and back on a day that I was sick, and I was sitting in between both of you, I think, too. I have video footage of that.
Sharing one mic.
Oh,
yeah.
Real quick, sorry, I just thought about this because I was looking at the IMDb page. Real quick, what do you guys like? Who are you guys shipping? Miles Morales and Gwen, or Miles Morales and Spider-Bite?
I didn't get a romantic thing from Spider-Bite in this movie.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, they look at each other like once he gets to the Spider Society, he can't stop staring at Spider-Bite the whole movie. That's why I'm sure there's some, and she's black. So that helps. Like, I'm sure his parents will approve more, because the second they saw Gwen, they were just like, what do he want with that white girl anyway? What's going on over there? She ain't got no melanin.
I think
you know how
right
it goes.
now
Listen,
they have
when
bigger
you are
things to handle.
When you are a parent of like parents of color do not just be automatically accepting the white person they gotta check you out first. They gotta make sure you cool first. They gotta know you down with the culture first.
Well, I think right now Spider-Man's in a little bit of a predicament, so he's not. That's not the last thing on his mind.
No, that's not on his mind. But his mama, as far as she knows, that's the last thing he did was go hang out with this girl.
Whoever saves him first, that's who he'll fall in love with. Whoever saves him first. So you think there's gonna be a fight for love in the next movie?
I don't think there'll be a fight for love. I'm just curious who he's gonna end up with. I'm sure it'll be Gwen, because in the comics, him and Gwen have had a thing for a little bit.
That's my suggestion for Sony for the subtitle. Instead of Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, it should be Spider-Man
Love in the Spider-Verse.
I think there's too much history with Gwen, and the way he looks at her when she betrays him, kind of. It's just too much. They don't really even him and Spider-Bite don't even talk as much.
Yeah,
not yet.
They just look,
but they'll have more time in the next movie.
So it sounds like you shipping them.
Sounds like yeah.
I'm into the drama. I'm into the pathos.
First you dog Gwen Stacy for wanting her dad to live. Then
I ain't talking about wanting her dad to live.
Like every dad needs to die.
Right. Now you don't want her to get love. All right, I see you.
Now you're just shipping Miles with
She'll be alright. She got Hobie. She's already stealing his shoes, staying in his place with a toothbrush and everything.
I would like Gwen and Hobie to hook up or like be together.
Hey.
They're too badass.
All right. Well, that's our show.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See y'all next week. Bye.
I'm gonna go turn on my air conditioner. Bye.